I think, for me, the times we live in are sort of a choose-your-own adventure of mental illness.
Did you want to fight? Is that the deal?
Whoa, bro.
You want to fight?
For the Eulahville chapter of the North Carolina Ku Klux Klan. Look, if y'all want to die, I suggest just with your own guns. Okay? Otherwise, keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, and you know what I'm talking about. And then, we'll do it for you if that's really what you want.
It's a little hard to stomach.
Ezra Miller was born in 1992 in New Jersey, the youngest of 3 kids. Their father was the vice president of Hyperion Books, and their mother was a dancer. At age 6, Ezra started showing interest in singing in theater.
I trained as an opera singer when I was 6.
Oh, but
They started acting as a teen and dropped out of school. You'd think to pursue their acting career, but Ezra tells a different story.
Why did I drop out of high school? C. Beethoven appeared to me in a dream.
Are you bullshitting me?
I'm not bullshitting you at all. Beethoven, essentially I had a dream where the headmistress of my school was slitting the throats of my mother and both of my sisters while they were suspended upside down from the ceiling. She bled them out like pigs. And then I ran to the PATH train. And when I got on the PATH train, Beethoven was sitting there, and we communicated telepathically, and he told me he'd written 5 symphonies, and then we had to battle these, gray clay zombie things. And then I woke up and I was like, I have to drop out of high school. It's a true story.
That's what I do.
Yeah, word.
Ezra's first movie was After School in 2008. Ezra's performance caught the attention of the indie film community, who immediately began looking to hire him.
Hi, I'm Denise, and I'm a proud BBW. That's Big Beautiful Woman.
In 2010, he appeared in Beware the Gonzo and Every Day, both of which appeared at the Tribeca Film Festival. During filming, Ezra began dating co-star Zoe Kravitz. Obviously, that relationship didn't last long.
We liked a lot of the same music. And like I said, he really was my collaborator in this. And once we had Ezra,
In 2011, Ezra appeared in 3 projects, including playing the titular character Kevin in We Need to Talk About Kevin, a movie about a psychopath high schooler. He also joined the band Sons of an Illustrious Father, which stayed together until 2020. Ezra later revealed that the 3 members of the band were in a polygamous 3-way relationship with each other. Although it didn't come as much of a surprise to many people. They called their style genre queer. 2011 was also the first time that Ezra got into legal trouble. When they were arrested for marijuana possession in Pittsburgh, these charges were later dropped. Miller says that he got off of the marijuana charges because of a kindly magistrate who gave him, quote, a lengthy lecture regarding my influence on the young extras of our film, one of whom he later revealed was his daughter.
You did an interview with Out Magazine. So you say, I'm queer.
Word.
The use of the word queer. Yeah, word. What is it? What does it mean? You didn't really define what it meant.
It means that, I think at this point in our world, we've got a really confused idea of the way gender and sexuality works, and I think we've created this really superfluous sort of binary in the way we think about gender, and I identify as queer because I don't identify with that.
What the Arctic Council will do in the near future has become essential and critical to each and every one of us. I just came from the Arctic. It's an unbelievably, completely indescribably beautiful place. And science suggests that it's an incredibly critical place when it comes to the regulation of our global climate. In the past 30 years alone, we've lost approximately 80% of the sea ice volume. This is a catastrophe, but some people don't view it that way. Oil industries in particular seem to view this change in the Arctic as an opportunity to drill for more oil, which we will then burn, creating more carbon emissions, which will in turn create more climate change. This, for obvious reasons, is a crazy and terrible idea.
We trekked here over 7 days to deliver the names of nearly 3 million people who joined the Save the Arctic movement because they want to protect this amazing, beautiful part of the world.
It's completely impossible to describe. There's a definite feeling like human beings are not supposed to be here, and that makes it sort of a blessed and amazing opportunity. I feel very lucky to be here, and it also feels like a big responsibility on our shoulders for those of us who have seen the beauty of this place to fight to preserve it.
Between 2012 and 2016, Ezra only appeared in 3 films. It might have seemed publicly like they were slowing down, but behind the scenes, they were grinding for absolutely massive success.
Okay, hold. And now say, okay, now change your position a little bit.
Right.
Ezra is the perfect guy to play Flash.
You want me to put into words how psyched I am to be doing this?
Yeah.
That's not gonna work.
I want you to be free. It's all right.
I've been obsessed with J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World since I was 7 years old.
We're standing at the construction site of the Dakota access pipeline. It looks like there are at least 3 bulldozers that are, to people's surprise at this moment, actually bulldozing the land.
Hey everybody, this is your old boy Ray Fisher.
And Ezra Miller.
Reporting live from the set of the Justice League.
And we want to say that our hearts are with the native youth of the Standing Rock Reservation and that we oppose the Dakota Access Pipeline.
And if you want to help get involved, please go to Respect Our Water, REZPECT, ourwater.com. Sign the petition, be a hero.
I'm Alice Brownotter. Hi, my name's Anona Gayton.
Hi, I'm Shailene Woodley.
I'm Bobby Jean Three Legs. I'm Annalie Yellowhammer.
And I'm Ezra Miller, and we're here at the Sacred Stone Camp, where since April 1st people have been camping, fighting for their lives against the Dakota Access Pipeline.
And please make a donation at www.change.org/respectourwater.
Tokata is really the boss of all of us. That's the truth right here. That's the truth. Chase knows she's the boss of him as well.
Yes. Ezra appeared to actually care about this cause, and they would return to the reservation on numerous occasions to show support. And this is probably how Ezra ended up meeting Tokata Iron Eyes.
Hi, yes, my name is Ezra Miller from New Jersey.
Hello, my name is Tokata Iron Eyes, and I'm from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and I'm representing the Standing Rock youth.
Sure.
We're making history right now. This is a historical moment that people are going to remember for the rest of their lives.
So just to start, I'm going to read some bios or give some bios for our panelists. And Tokata Iron Eyes is also a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and she has been active against injustice since she was 9 years old when she testified against a uranium mine in the Black Hills. And she's now a youth leader in the climate movement, a peer of Greta Thunberg, and is involved in various other civil rights struggles, including the Dakota Access Pipeline opposition and organizing around missing and murdered Indigenous women in the US. Chase Iron Eyes, hi Chase. He has a long career fighting for the civil rights of Native Americans, including serving as lead local counsel in the Dakotas for the Lakota People's Law Project. He's the co-founder of the Native news website LastRealIndians.com and the 2016 Democratic congressional nominee for North Dakota.
Dakota Iron Eyes was an activist, following in the footsteps of her father, Chase Iron Eyes. Despite the huge difference in age, Dakota and Ezra formed a friendship. Dakota's parents were always weary of this relationship, seeing as how Dakota was only 12 at the time. But they allowed it to happen, assuming that Ezra had nothing but pure intentions. According to Dakota's father, Chase, in 2017, when Dakota was 14, Ezra paid for her to fly to London while they filmed the next Fantastic Beasts movie, Crimes of Grindelwald, so she could visit the set. At the time, her parents were somewhat supportive of this, as they saw Ezra as a responsible, caring adult, and they knew how much Harry Potter meant to their daughter. But even though it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Chase says he was always cautious of a 24-year-old man pursuing a friendship with his then 14-year-old daughter. Unfortunately, Chase would find out later that he had reason to be concerned.
I wanted to know if you can tell us anything about Justice League and the Flash.
If I can tell you, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be freaking awesome, and you should be super excited and go see it.
Let's do it.
All right. Whoever you're looking for, it's not me. You're the Batman. Very difficult for me. Does anyone know why it would be very difficult for the Flash to get drunk? This is a flashback question. Thank you. That's what we call a flashback. You guys let me smell your breath. It's a flashback. Let me smell your breath. Because he has a fast metabolism. Let me smell your breath. How did it smell?
2018 was basically a year of rest and introspection for Ezra. To be overly simplistic, you could say that he attended parties and celebrated the release of Grindelwald and opened up to the public more than ever, telling stories and sharing ideas. He more fully embraced the LGBT community by sharing a personal Me Too story, sharing the details of his polygamous relationship with his bandmates. Oh my god, I misgendered.
You know what's, I feel like, not talked about enough? The gay subtext.
And changing their pronouns from he, him to they, them. Except that part's not exactly true. His wiki says this is when it happened in 2018, but its reference leads to an article which references another article by Hollywood Reporter, which does say that Ezra identifies with no gender but also uses he, him pronouns. In fact, this trend continues in articles up until 2020. Alright, now I should read the Me Too story. They then write that this bleeds into Miller's own Me Too moment, which he has never shared, with an unnamed director and producer. Quote, "They gave me wine and I was underage," he recalls. "They were like, hey, want to be in our movie about gay revolution?" And I was like, no, you guys are monsters. It's a great age of being like, you know what? That shit's unacceptable. And it's amazing for a lot of us to watch, because like, we all knew it was unacceptable when we survived it. That's what Hollywood is. I thought we all knew we were. Is that his entire story about Me Too? That was so vague. Hollywood's warped hierarchy brings out Miller's intensity, but not nearly as much as the subject of climate change. Whoa, what about his assault? Gaia, we don't understand her. We don't understand how powerful she is. We don't respect her rights, he says, shaking. I'm just an emotional person. I just feel things differently. Yes, I'm crying already in the interview. In 2018, around this time, there started to be a noticeable difference in the way that Ezra did interviews.
It's good to see you all.
Good to see you, Josh Howard.
You stole my look again. Oh, geez. Here we are.
Well, you backed
Should
out,
we
too,
leave?
which is
Should
what
we
I'm
just
upset
let you
about.
guys be alone?
No, I need
for
you
a-
here.
We
Sarah,
tried to
please.
organize it that way.
God
Please
help
don't
me.
go.
Don't go. Save me.
See, you love to pretend. I told you. What did I say right before the interview started, Josh?
Congratulations on the new movie, guys.
Catherine.
Let's talk Fantastic Beasts.
Wow.
Welcome to Mindhead.
Does everyone get welcome?
No, only people who ask
He's so
what the
magical
lint roller is.
in everyday life.
I thought that the pronunciation was Grindelwald going into this movie. Then I saw the movie, and is it Grindelwald?
It just depends how German you like to get.
Okay.
Sometime this same year, Ezra decided to buy a farm in Vermont, and that became their primary residence until, the end or whatever. But we'll talk more about that later. In 2019, Ezra didn't do a lot. He acted in 2 short films and attended the Met Gala, where he was praised for his fancy fashion. In terms of the timeline, maybe this year would prove to be an incubation period for the craziness that would manifest over the next few years. 2020 saw Ezra's Barry Allen make a cameo as Flash in The Crisis on Infinite Earths. As the year started, so too did the filming of Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore in London. But as we all know, in March of 2020 we got hit with the super virus. And just like everything else in the world, filming for Fantastic Beasts ground to a halt, with no definite answer on when it would resume. Ezra, now famous and loaded with cash, did what most of us did during the pandemic. They flew to Iceland and became a frequenter of the historic bars in Reykjavik. After a few months, Ezra had become known to and even friendly with certain people in the neighborhood that he stayed, who funnily enough knew him best for his roles in Perks of Being a Wallflower and We Need to Talk About Kevin. But at some point, as Ezra grew more comfortable with the people around him, he started to show an aggressive side. Ezra was a regular at the establishment Prickio Kaffeehaus. A bartender who worked there tells a story of Ezra and another customer playfully bantering when Ezra suddenly put the patron in a chokehold. After releasing him, the actor supposedly slapped him, which elicited little reaction from the other man, who instead opted to laugh the whole situation off. Ezra later apologized and was allowed to continue going to the bar, but there would be another event later. According to the anonymous female victim of this story and witnesses inside Prickio, Ezra and the woman had been talking at the bar as Ezra drank. The woman noticed Ezra's flip-flops and remarked on various cuts and wounds that she could see on his feet. Ezra explained that they were from a fight. They bantered about this jokingly before the woman walked away, but as she left, she added something to the effect of, "Well, just so you know, I could take you in a fight." Miller apparently took this as a threat and replied, "You really want to fight?" And the woman, not picking up on what he was putting down, apparently flirted back and said to meet her outside in the smoking area in 2 minutes to find out. From this point, we can watch what happens. The woman approaches Ezra, smiling, hands up in a mock fighting pose. Ezra says,
Did you want to fight?
and...
Is nothing to you? Whoa, bro. Fight?
This video was recorded by one of the woman's friends. The woman's friend said that Miller spat in her friend's face multiple times. Eventually, the same bartender from before ran outside to break up the fight. Miller grabs me by the throat as I'm trying to usher them out the back door and tells me they're not leaving. They proceeded to spit in my face several times, so with the final push, I closed and locked the door, he added. He then ran to lock the tavern's front entrance where Miller, who had run along the perimeter of the building, was banging on the door and screaming to be let in. Eventually, the actor was ushered into a car by 2 local friends and driven away. His handlers had to come. Variety has corroborated Rayner's account with 3 other sources, including management at Prickio. The bartender says that he was struck by how quickly Miller turned against the local community. I thought they were great to begin with. We talked about all kinds of spiritual things and went deep into philosophy. They had this wonderful mask on as this total sweetheart with a completely open mind who's ready to help and talk to anyone. But as soon as someone does something they don't agree with, it's their fault, not Ezra's. While Ezra was staying in Iceland, they lived in an Airbnb with a bunch of other artists, many Icelandic. Neighbors described the conditions as like those of a commune. An anonymous woman who visited the home said that there were mattresses laid out all over the floor, and that the other people in the house seemed hypnotized by Miller, ignoring the actor's sudden mood changes and listening wholeheartedly like children to his endless rants. Ezra allegedly reveled in this so much that they would hold court daily. This same woman claimed that before she left, Ezra had taken her aside to a room and given her a speech about not leaving the house. This girl and a couple of the other people who were at the house momentarily told Business Insider that they thought Ezra was crazy, pretty much. And supposedly, many of the tenants came to see it that way too in time, as they eventually left, and are the ones providing the majority of this information to the article. Obviously, to people seeing this from the outside, it looked like a cult. Even though people began leaving the house or ended up just not staying there long to begin with, one man supposedly stuck by Ezra's side throughout. His personal assistant and spiritual advisor, a man named Jasper Youngbear.
I am the bear chief who rides the lightning. That is my Indian name. My English name is Jasper Youngbear.
What are some of the things that you think is important for people to see?
That the real truth of this world is a truth based upon the Creator, the element, that we are all caretakers of this earth, that we're all responsible for the heavens, the earth, the universe itself, that we as the human race, we are the children of God. This earth represents.
In my tradition, our story of creation is one that takes 4 days to tell. Often people think this is a quaint little story, but it's not. It's a sacred truth, and at its center is this most crucial concept, that you are the universe, that everything the Creator went through, you've gone through too. Most people struggle with this. Most aren't ready to accept that they are the sacred center, but it's an important shift to what's called whole two-part thinking, where all the dichotomies of the universe are cast aside, where there is no male and female, no black and white, no political divide. When you use whole two-part thinking, the sense of self is much deeper, more expansive. When we get named, we are the light, we are the beginning, we are one with time and space. We go forth and we vibrate with our names, attracting what others have instilled, attracting what is already inside of us. Right now, people feel trapped by the systems, the current political system, the distribution of land. People don't feel like they have enough. They don't get to see a rolling river. They can't go pick Juneberries, plums, or choke cherries, which all grow wild here where I live, or go fishing in Lake Sakakawea. There's nowhere they're told where nature and community can be in harmony, but we can create a new world. We must create a new world. All it takes is a mustard seed of faith. We must believe that we are not separate. We are John or Amy or Ken. I am not Jasper Youngbear. I am the Creator. And believing that I am the Creator is the only way I can do this work. It's the only way I have the strength to say, how dare you hurt the earth? How dare you hurt my people? How dare you hurt each other? These are the things that Jasper Youngbear believed in, and these are the things he talked about. Jasper was telling Ezra that he wasn't a part of the movement, he was the movement, that he was the next Messiah, and that the Freemasons were sending demons out to kill him, says a source who, like others who have been close to Miller, sometimes misgender the actor, who is said not to insist on they-them pronouns in private. According to people who lived in the area of the Airbnb, when Ezra wasn't at home or at the local bars, they would be seen walking the frigid streets in their flip-flops at random hours, thus explaining how Ezra had all those wounds on their feet. And it was said that for all of these walks, Ezra was accompanied by Jasper Youngbear. All of these things were said to have been occurring in the few weeks leading up to the fight outside the bar on April 1st. In December of 2021, Dakota Iron Eyes was at school. She'd been a student for nearly 2 years when she suddenly made a snap decision. She dropped out. Luckily for her, the school she'd attended, Bard College, was located in Simon's Rock, which was only a 2-hour drive from Ezra's Vermont farm. Tokata had been an arm's length of Ezra since her enrollment in January 2020. An enrollment that was apparently paid for by Ezra, according to Chase. It's unclear when Tokata's birthday is, but I would hazard a guess it was sometime in December. Now unenrolled, Tokata called a family friend and asked if she could stay for a while. The friend agreed, but was surprised when Tokata arrived with 4 other people, one of which was Miller. During the group's 4-day stay, Miller unexpectedly drew a gun, ranted about being followed by the FBI, and refused to let Tokata out of their sight, said homeowner Chief Bearcross. Another person who lived in the home but stayed anonymous claimed that they had seen Miller and Tokata having sex outside one night and told Bearcross about it immediately. The pair denied it when questioned. The group of people decided to leave the reservation one day, and Tokata asked her father Chase to come with them, which he did, but only as far as Oakland. This is when I was able to see some of Ezra's deranged behavior, Iron Eyes said. On the trip, he said Miller claimed they were an incarnation of Jesus Christ, and at one point brandished a gun in a state park. When Chase left the group in Oakland, he had new concerns about Ezra. "2022 was a garbage fire. On January 27th, Miller posted a video to Instagram.
Hi, this is Ezra Miller, and this is a message for the Beulahville chapter of the North Carolina Ku Klux Klan. Look, if y'all want to die, I suggest just killing yourselves with your own guns. Okay? Otherwise, keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, and you know what I'm talking about, and then, we'll do it for you if that's really what you want. Okay, talk to you soon, okay? Bye!
It's unclear what the Beulahville chapter of the KKK specifically had done to receive this response, or what Ezra was really planning to actually do. Ezra and Tokata eventually made their way back to the mountain. Then on January 29th, Chase and his wife, Jumping Eagle, got an alarming call from Ezra. Tokata had taken a massive dose of LSD 3 days prior, and was still reacting to it very poorly. Chase and Jumping Eagle immediately took a plane to Vermont. The next day, when they met with Tokata, they found her incoherent and screaming relentlessly. She had bruises on her arms and face, and her phone and ID were missing. Supposedly, another person at the farm had told the parents in private for fear of repercussions from the actor that the bruises were a result of Ezra holding Tokata down and screaming in her face for not answering one of his questions. When asked about these events later, Tokata said that she took a microdose of LSD and self-harmed over a friend's death, which is why she had bruises, or that maybe her parents caused them by violently dragging her out of the house. Chase, of course, says that that never happened. When Chase and Jumping Eagle eventually left the farm again, it was with their daughter. As they were leaving the property, Miller texted them a deal. Let Tokata stay, and he will get her psychiatric help. They ignored this. For the next 3 weeks, Tokata stayed with her parents, and they got her a new phone and ID. They talked openly about some sort of legal consequence for Ezra, but Tokata pulled the "if you do that, I'll never talk to you again" card. Afraid of losing their daughter, they backed off and let things just kinda sit. Jumping Eagle later said, "We didn't know the extent of Ezra's manipulation of Tokata. I guess we were naive." On February 2nd, a mother and her 11-year-old child entered the apartment of their downstairs neighbor in a home in Greenfield and were greeted by Ezra Miller. His farm was only about 40 miles away in Stamford, so it was barely out of the way. This neighbor and Ezra shared a close friend, so they were there to visit. The first thing the neighbor noticed when he'd greeted the actor was that Ezra was wearing a bulletproof vest. Everybody began talking, and the mother randomly referred to a group of her friends that she traveled with as her tribe. Ezra snapped that they didn't like her saying this, and they lectured the woman about cultural appropriation. The mother didn't challenge Ezra on the point. The conversation continued, but when the game Parcheesi came up, Miller claimed it had Rastafarian roots. The neighbor, being half black, decided to push back a little bit and asked Ezra which sect of Rastafari the game originated from. This sent Ezra into a rage. At this point, Ezra explodes and starts screaming directly into my face. "You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. What did you say to me? What did you just say to me?" I was very caught off guard. Ezra then swung back one massive side of his Sherpa jacket, revealing a handgun, and said, "Talking like that could get you into a really serious situation." Everyone in the room then claims that Ezra turned toward the 11-year-old child, who is apparently non-binary, and said to the mother, "I've talked extensively with your child, and they have a lot of power to them. At one point, you're going to realize that you don't have any control over them anymore. They're an elevated being, and they would be lucky to have someone like me guide them." Ezra then turned dramatically toward the mother, who dresses goth, by the way, and accused her of being a vampire witch, screaming at her repeatedly, "Do you want to drink my blood? Do you, vampire?" Once more, they turned back to the child, slid their chair closer by them, and started saying that The child should add Ezra on Instagram and they should pursue fashion. Ezra apologized for their outburst and then continued to compliment the child until the group dispersed. The mother and neighbor both believe Ezra was high for this interaction, and I think it was probably LSD.
To beat you in this game. Go ahead, ask me a question.
Is this Kevlar?
Later that month, a woman named Nadia was returning to her Berlin apartment late in the evening when she got a text message from Ezra Miller. They were in town, and so she invited them over. Nadia and Ezra had met in 2020. Since then, she and the actor had shared a warm relationship, mostly in the form of text messages. They hadn't seen each other since then, so she was excited to see them that night. Ezra arrived and everything was pleasant until they tried to light a cigarette. Nadia protested and said she didn't want that inside her home, and Ezra flew into a rage. That just sent them off. I asked them to leave about 20 times, maybe more. They started insulting me. I'm a transphobic piece of shit. I'm a Nazi. It became so stressful. They were going around my house, looking at everything, touching everything, spreading tobacco leaves on the floor. It felt disgusting and very intrusive. She argued with Ezra for about 30 minutes until she threatened to call the police, at which point Ezra finally left. The entire interaction left her feeling, quote, disturbed. These reports were apparently corroborated by a German social worker and a few other people. After a few weeks, Tokata told her parents that she wanted to go to New York City to make music with a friend, who her parents knew and trusted. They agreed, and within days, she was back at Ezra's farm.
So that was a fucking lie.
In March, news broke that Ezra Miller was now terrorizing the residents of Hawaii, and Tokata had come with them. On the 27th, Ezra was at a karaoke bar when a couple decided to sing the Lady Gaga song Shallow from the film A Star is Born. This sent Ezra into a rage.
More details are emerging following actor Ezra Miller's arrest on the Big Island.
Police say the Flash actor grabbed a microphone from a 23-year-old woman singing karaoke mid-song and then lunged at a 32-year-old man.
They began screaming and insulting the couple before storming the stage and snatching the microphone from the woman's hand. Apparently, a man playing darts turned around and said something to Ezra, which resulted in the actor lunging at him. The two scuffled and police were called. No matter what anyone said, Miller refused to calm down. He was arrested and the couple he was staying with posted his $500 bail.
So that night at the bar, he had gotten aggressive with somebody, spat in their face.
No, I got assaulted and I started filming. Okay, let's show you the video. Let's talk stories outside. Let's talk stories outside.
And Ezra Miller, this is no warrants, but he's caution code on table 29.
I got assaulted in this bar twice in a row. I film myself when I get assaulted for NFT crypto art. What's your name? What's your badge number? Tell me your name and your badge number. I'm being arrested for disorderly conduct?
Yeah.
Okay. I was assaulting you in this center, right?
Okay.
Well, you know, you could have told us that instead of running away and playing all of these theatrics. You could have just told us that.
I'm sorry,
No, you're not
officer.
sorry. You could have took this thing real quick. But no, you wanted to play the game.
I was complying.
Well, you the ones that complying.
I was. You said get off the road, I got off the road.
No, you didn't.
So what did I do wrong?
You spit in somebody's face.
A guy in that bar declared himself as a Nazi. I have it on film and he attacked me. I claim my Fourth Amendment rights to not be searched and seized on no probable cause that you will not be able to offer in a court of law. I claim my Fourth Amendment rights to not be unlawful. Hey, you just touched my penis. I'm not transgender, non-binary. I don't want to be searched by a man. I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want to be searched by a man. I'm sorry. I'm not a sir. I'm transgender, non-binary. Please never put me as sir. It's not a
Okay. I was just trying to be respectful.
If you fail to do that again, that is an act of intent.
We've reached out to Miller's management and have not heard back. Max Rodriguez, KHO12 News, working for Hawaii.
2 days later, on March 29th, the couple he lived with, who had just bailed him out of prison, filed a restraining order against Ezra, because after he'd gotten home from jail, he'd confronted the couple for seemingly no reason and said, "I will bury you and your slut wife."
The TRO says Miller busted into their bedroom making threats.
He then stole the woman's passport and the man's wallet. The order was granted the following day. However, for some reason, the couple decided to drop it half a month later. On March 31st, Hawaiian police told the Associated Press that Ezra Miller had been the cause of 10 separate calls to their office since his arrival to the islands. On April 6th, Rolling Stone claims that Warner Bros. And DC executives had an emergency meeting to figure out what to do about the steadily worsening Ezra Miller. The standalone film The Flash had already been filmed and needed to be released to avoid a huge loss, but they knew if Ezra continued to spiral, they would be criticized for ignoring the issue and releasing the film. So they quietly decided to pause all current and future endeavors with Ezra. However, none of that has been confirmed. On April 19th, Ezra was attending a private party, again in Hawaii, when they started to get unmanageable. The host asked Ezra to leave, and they flew into a rage once again.
And this just in, more trouble for the Flash actor Ezra Miller. Big Island police say officers arrested the 29-year-old Vermont resident early this morning for assault.
Witnesses say that Ezra picked up the closest piece of furniture, a chair, and threw it into a group of people where it struck a woman in the head. Miller then escaped into a car, but was arrested a little while later during a traffic stop for second-degree assault, although they were released later that night.
Big Island police have arrested Miller about a dozen times since early March, and they are expected to appear in court this afternoon on charges of disorderly conduct, harassment, and obstructing a highway.
You said get off the road, get off the road.
No, you didn't.
However, there is an opposing story about this chair incident, and it leads into one of the more important details in this story and easily one of the most confusing. In Hawaii, Ezra and Tokata and probably a few other people had been basically kicked out of the hostel they were staying in by the couple who owned it when Ezra had done the whole steal their things and scream at them thing. After that, it's unclear where everyone stayed, but it seems like they stayed in the home of a family. A woman called Rosa says in an interview that she was at this chair party and that someone had pulled a knife on Ezra. Ezra reacted by throwing a chair at them, and somehow the woman's husband was involved, and the chair hit a woman in the face instead of who he was trying to hit. She did an interview with another small YouTuber about all of this, and it is absolute torture to listen to. She claims her husband was abusive, that Ezra and Tokata essentially saved her, and that the media has the whole chair story completely out of whack. At one point, it sounds like some dogs attack each other.
Your mom has the other one open?
Which terrorizes her children. It's another perspective of the story. I listened to the whole thing like 3 times, and I just zoned out. It's fine though, don't worry about it. Regardless of the details, when Tokata and Ezra returned to the farm in May, they brought Rosa and her 3 children with them. And they all stayed there together while the children's father pleaded unsuccessfully for help. Ezra had a friend named Ignatius, and there's a whole other story about them stealing music from the guy, but it's one of the things I cut from the video because there's just too much. But this Ignatius friend claims that when Tokata and Ezra got back to Vermont, Ezra was even more cruel than ever. At one point, she had worn makeup and Ezra had screamed at her, "What the fuck are you doing? Putting on this fucking clown paint?" Tokata later said that this was incorrect. It was actually an inclusive queer dialogue about a badly applied rouge on my part, which I appreciated. I think the fact that a catty comment made by a queer person about makeup being considered abuse is actually quite homophobic rhetoric. Ignatius says seeing this relationship was the final straw in his friendship and music collaboration with Ezra. I was misled by an extremely manipulative actor. Tokata had gone without her phone since January, cutting off her parents. In late May, Chase and Jumping Eagle got word that Ezra and Tokata would be at a certain location in LA for a short period of time. They jumped a plane and attempted to confront the couple, but they escaped into an Uber. Sarah managed to reach the car before the door closed and held it open, pleading with her daughter to come home, but Ezra supposedly closed the door on her arms. So she pulled back and the car drove away. Chase and Sarah returned to Pine Ridge empty-handed. On June 4th, Miller met with the mother and non-binary child again, for the 4th time. On this occasion, Ezra was dressed as a cowboy, which made the child awkwardly say that they liked horses. Ezra then said that they'd buy some horses for their farm, and the child could come help take care of them. This event finally made the mother decide to end these interactions. On June 6th, Tokata posted her first Instagram statement, which largely was denying much of what her parents were saying. On June 8th, Tokata's parents finally filed the protective order against Ezra Miller, barring him from being within 100 yards of Tokata, her mom or dad, or their property. Tokata was 18 now, but due to tribal law, she was still legally considered under guardianship of her parents. But the next day, June 9th, neither Ezra nor Tokata could be located, and the actor could not be served the protective order. That same day, Tokata issued another statement on Instagram from an unknown location.
Let's see what's in this.
Hi, guys.
Oh, already looking off camera.
Oh, no.
Right? I mean,
I've become aware that some people are saying that my statements were not written by me. They are, in fact, directly from me. Nobody is controlling my Instagram account. I don't have a phone right now out of my own personal conviction.
oh, hell no. He took her phone?
It's really distressing that the narrative of the victim is not being granted any trust.
Why is she talking so slow?
I worked really hard to make really clear what was going on. And if the statements are too profoundly contrasting to whatever assumptions.
I've never seen anyone talk that slow in my life.
Those of us have garnered and have chosen to carry. I'd like to say that it's nobody's business and that no one is owed a story or an outcome. This is my life. These are my decisions, and I'm disappointed in my parents and the press. In every way.
On June 10th, Miller still had not been served.
This has been abusive and horrifying.
On June 15th, Ezra deleted their Instagram after posting memes which appeared to mock law enforcement. One post read, "I am shielded from negative people and their ill intent. My spirit, mind, body, and soul, and success are not altered by anyone's envy." On June 16th, the non-binary child's mother got a protective order against Ezra after 4 encounters in the past 5 months. On June 23rd, Rolling Stone released an article about the family at Ezra's farm, and the father in Hawaii fighting to get the 3 children back, aged 1 to 5. The information in this article comes largely from 2 anonymous sources, with knowledge of the situation. These claims include unattended loaded weapons in reach of children, rampant marijuana growing and use around the kids. Supposedly at one point a child found a loose bullet in the carpet and put it in their mouth. But the mother, Rosa, claims it's a safe environment and says Ezra didn't kidnap anybody, but instead helped her escape from an abusive marriage. Court cases were filed against her husband in Hawaii in the past, but these never came to fruition. And he says that her claims are bogus. Rosa told Rolling Stone, "Ezra's home ranch has been a healing haven for us. They may have firearms for self-defense purposes, but they are stored in a part of the house the children never go in. My kids are able to relax more into their healing because of the safety and nurturing Ezra has been providing for them." The father filed a case against the mother about the children being taken, but it's pending. A man named Whitney Southers, who would play music with Ezra dressed as a cowboy, and was the person who knew the downstairs neighbor in Greenfield, would sometimes show off the weed being grown at the farm on his social media, although I can't find any of those pictures now. Apparently, someone took a video inside the farm of a bunch of guns and weed next to stuffed animals, and this video was shown to Rolling Stone, but it wasn't released. After learning some of these things, the father called Vermont Police and Child Services. Someone identifying as a social worker replied to him through text on May 16th, saying that they'd visited the farm and everything looked good. At the time of the article, Rosa and the children were still staying there. Things kind of remained unresolved for a while. On August 6th, police raided the farm. They were mainly seeking to remove the children from the mother's care, but they only found Ezra. Ezra said that, basically, the people they were looking for hadn't lived there in months, and this was all crazy. The cops left, but came back the next day and charged Ezra with felony burglary, saying they entered a neighbor's home and stole a large amount of booze. Back on May 1st, someone had returned home and found their alcohol stash pilfered. Reviewing their security footage clearly revealed that Ezra Miller was the culprit, and since Ezra was giving the police an increasingly harder time over this care order, they dug that up and charged him for it. On August 11th, a report came out claiming that Warner Bros. Is considering 3 paths to take regarding Ezra Miller. Option 1 is that they Batgirl the project, meaning they don't release the Flash, they take any tax write-off that they can, they drop Ezra, and they move on. Or They can release the Flash, then release Ezra from their contract, handle the fallout, cut their losses, and recast for the future. Option 3 is obviously the best choice for Ezra. Start handling your shit. Go to counseling, and if things improve, maybe you get to do an interview explaining yourself. Then, maybe you get to do some small promo for the Flash. And then, maybe, if you're perfect, we can figure out some way to make this all work out. Keep in mind, too, that Batgirl was a $70 million hassle. The Flash would be a $200 million ass blast. Finally, on August 15th, Miller issued out a statement, or their representative did, to Variety and no one else. And they only reveal part of the statement, or all of it, and it's just very short. I don't know. Ezra says, "Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life." Things stayed quiet for a little bit. Then on September 18th, Vanity Fair reported on some of the legal updates about Ezra Miller. All cases and charges from Hawaii had been dropped. No charges from the Iceland choking victim were ever pressed. The Dakota issue was dependent on tribal law, and it was still stuck in the bureaucratic pipes. No charges have been presented to Ezra due to the Rosa debacle. The only thing hanging over their head legally is the theft charge, and the ongoing investigation into the child and mother from Greenfield. On top of this, it's reported that the Flash movie is again greenlit. Its release date has been pushed back to 2023, and Ezra is supposedly currently filming reshoots. On October 17th, Miller pleaded not guilty to 2 counts related to the alcohol theft. He could get maximum of 25 years for this, but I doubt it. Possible, but probably not. As of November, while making this, no major updates about Ezra have been announced for a while. Looks like everything is just gonna move forward as planned. All claims made in this video are alleged. Few things are totally provable about any of these stories, but it doesn't sound good for Ezra. And it doesn't sound like their brain is working correctly. Entirely separate from their mental problems, or supposed possible mental problems, I think it's pretty clear that Ezra is a textbook groomer. They are pursuing children in their early teens, growing close to them, and attempting to mold them into future partners. I mean, I don't think it could be more clear. How everything unfolds in the future is totally unknown to me. I've thought that I knew how stuff would go in the past, and I've been proven a total liar. So, we'll just have to see. Will all this bad stuff finally catch up to Ezra, or will they one day show up with proof that these things weren't really how they appeared? No clue. But they're pretty crazy stories either way. Thank you for watching. I hope you're alright. If you like what I do, check out my Patreon. If you like the music, check it out on Spotify. And I'll see you guys in whatever comes next.